The Portland Trailblazers from 2022 to 2024 were one of the worst teams in the league as they finished bottom 3 in the West for all 3 of those years. And last year, they started off 13-27, and it looked like they were in for another bottom feeder season. But in their last 42 games, they were vastly better as they went 23-19 in that stretch, and they ended the year 36-46, and they fell just short of the play-in tournament. And I think in 2026, the Blazers will pick up where they left off, and I think they will at least make the play-in tournament and maybe even the playoffs this upcoming season, which is what I'm going to go over in today's video. Now before we do get started, of course, if you guys end up enjoying the video, make sure you hit the like button since it really does help out the channel. And of course, if you guys are new and enjoy content like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well so you stay up to date with my latest videos. But with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get things started. Now for starters, I do think Portland should be one of the best defensive teams in the NBA in 2026. In their last 42 games of the year, they were 3rd in defensive net rating, 8th in opponent points per game, 8th in opponent field goal percentage, 2nd in opponent 3-point percentage, 9th in blocks per game, and 11th in steals per game. It was easily the biggest catalyst for why they were drastically better in their last 42 games, and the Blazers have plenty of good defenders on their team. Toumani Camara was tremendous in his second year and is one of the most underrated players in the league if you ask me. He's an extremely good defender, and he even made all-defense second team last year while averaging 11 points per game and 1.5 steals per game, and he shot 37.5% from 3. Now, I don't think Toumani Camara is ever going to be like a number 1 option or like a superstar or anything like that, but I do think he will be a good starting level player for a long time as a 3-and-D forward. They also do have Deni Avdija, who is a really good defender, and he also averaged 17 points per game and 7 rebounds per game while shooting 48% from the field and 36.5% from 3. Donovan Clingan also had a solid rookie year, and he was a big part of the Blazers defense, as in just 20 minutes per game, he averaged 6.5 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, and 2 blocks per game. And last year, he was the backup center to DeAndre Ayton, but now that he is Portland's starter, and, given the fact that he has a year of experience under his belt, I expect him to have a breakout season, with his additional opportunity and experience. The Blazers also do have Matisse Thybulle, and Matisse Thybulle didn't really play much last year due to injuries, but when he came back, he was really good, averaging 7.5 points per game and 2 steals per game while shooting 48% from the field and 44% from 3. Now granted, it was on a small sample size, but in my opinion, if he is healthy and can just be respectable on offense while continuing to be a really good defender, then I do think Matisse Thybulle can be really big for the Blazers, as a bench player and 3-and-D wing. And as if the Blazers defense wasn't good enough already, Portland traded for Jrue Holiday this offseason in exchange for Anthony Simons as they traded him to the Boston Celtics. Now, Jrue Holiday is very old, but he's still an amazing defender, and he should only bolster their already potent defense. And Jrue Holiday should also provide plenty of value on the offensive side of the ball as well, as he is a pretty good scorer, he's a really good playmaker, and he's a pretty good shooter as well. And I do think Jrue Holiday should be a good locker room presence as well, as he is an experienced vet who has been on a number of good teams, and he was a big reason why the Celtics were so good over these last 2 years and why they won the championship in the 2024 season. And that kind of leadership is going to be very vital for such a young team like the Portland Trailblazers. And one guy in particular who I think will benefit a lot from Jrue Holiday's leadership is Shaden Sharp. He took a leap last year, as in 2025 he averaged 18.5 points per game, 3 assists per game, and 4.5 rebounds per game while shooting 45% from the field. He's already a really good scorer and is really good at scoring inside the arc, and in my opinion, Shaden Sharp has a ton of potential, and I think a lot of people underestimate his ceiling, as I truly believe that he could be an all-NBA level player one day. And with Anthony Simons no longer on the Blazers, I think Shaden Sharp should get even more touches offensively, and that should help him out a lot when it comes to just improving as a player, this upcoming season. But with that said, Shaden Sharp really has to improve as a 3-point shooter and defender. And heading into the NBA, his 3-point shot was always a concern. But in his rookie year, he actually shot 36% from 3, but Ever since his rookie year, his percentages from downtown have only dropped, as in 2024, he shot only 33% from downtown, and in 2025, he shot just 31%. And then defensively, Shaden Sharp has a ton of potential on that side of the ball, as he is 6'6", with the 7-foot wingspan, and he is decent at playing passing lanes, as he averaged 1 steal per game in both 2024 and 2025. But with that said, he's pretty bad in the other aspects of playing defense, and it even led to him being benched temporarily last year before he re-earned his starting job in 2025. But Jrue Holiday's playmaking, it should allow for Shaden Sharp to get easier shots, and his veteran leadership should only help Shaden become a better defensive player. And in my opinion, if Shaden Sharp can just continue to grow as a scorer and really become like an elite scorer, and also improve as a three-point shooter and defender, then Shaden Sharp could get some serious buzz to be named an All-Star in 2026 and maybe win Most Improved Player this upcoming year. And speaking of young guys, let's talk about Scoot Henderson. Scoot Henderson obviously had some insane hype heading into the NBA, as after Victor Wembanyama, he was viewed as the clear-cut second best player in the 2023 NBA draft. But Scoot has been nothing short of terrible so far in the NBA, as while he is a great athlete, he doesn't really do anything well on the court. He's not a very good scorer, he's pretty inefficient as one actually. He's not a very good playmaker, nor is he a very good defender either. In his rookie year, he averaged just 14 points per game and 5 assists per game, while shooting only 42% from the field, 32.5% from 3, and he averaged 3 turnovers per game. And last year, he wasn't exactly amazing, but to be fair to Scoot Henderson, he did start to show some promise in the second half of last year, as in his last 37 games, in 27 minutes per game, he averaged 14 points per game, 5 assists per game, 1 steal per game, and he shot 43% from the field and 38% from 3 on 5 attempts per game. Now, he did still average 3 turnovers per game in that stretch, but in those last 37 games, he started to look like a competent NBA player, which wasn't something he had really looked like, up until that point in his career. Now, Scoot Henderson is heading into his 3rd year, and it's going to be a very big season for him if he wants to solidify himself as a part of the Blazers' future. And right now, he is slated to be their backup point guard, so that could limit his opportunities and minutes per game a little bit. But with that said, maybe 2026 is the year that he starts to put it all together and he starts living up to the hype. And if Scoot Henderson can do just that, then that is going to help out the Blazers a lot. And speaking of some veterans, the Blazers still have Jeremy Grant, and Jeremy, unfortunately, since 2021 when he joined the Pistons, has honestly degraded into being an empty stats player, and he's also struggled with injuries. He was especially bad last year, as he only played 47 games, and he averaged a mere 14 points per game, while shooting 37% from the field and 36.5% from 3. He's also extremely overpaid, as he's owed over $30 million over the next few years of his deal, and he's already 31 years old. Now, with that said, maybe Jeremy Grant can still be a contributor to this team, as he has shown in the past that he can be a good 3-and-D forward, and if the Blazers do become a winning team again, then it is possible that we could see Jeremy Grant reinsert himself into that kind of role. I guess only time is going to tell. And they also did bring back Damian Lillard after he was bought out by the Bucks, and Dame is probably not going to play in 2026 as he does recover from a torn Achilles that he suffered in the first round of the playoffs last year, and chances are his best days and days of being an all-star and all-NBA level player are behind him. But with that said, it is really nice to see him back in Portland, and I do think Damian Lillard can be a good veteran leader for this team, and when he does come back in 2027, maybe he does have something left in the tank and can be a decent contributor to the Trailblazers. They also did draft Yang Hansen in this year's NBA draft, and I wasn't able to scout many prospects in this year's draft as they did get busy, around that time, but after going back and doing some research, I do think Hansen could be a real difference maker for the Blazers. He's obviously really big, being 7'2" and 255 pounds, but he's also a great passer, a really good post scorer, a good rebounder, and a nice rim protector as well. But the biggest question marks with him is his lack of athleticism, and his lack of experience. But I do think with some time, Yang Hansen could be pretty good. And I'm not totally sure how much playing time he will get this year, but maybe he will get, a little bit of playing time in 2026, and maybe we will see some flashes of what he could be in the future. And speaking of centers, I will talk about Robert Williams briefly, but I would talk about Robert Williams a lot more. However, injuries have totally wrecked his career since 2023, and because of that, I'm not sure how much of a difference maker he's going to be. And Chauncey Billups does deserve a lot of credit as well. Shout out to the 303 native, by the way. And I won't lie, Chauncey Billups, even though I do like him, especially because he is from Denver, where I'm from, I won't lie, at first, I was not a big fan of him, as while they have been rebuilding for pretty much his whole tenure, Portland had looked like an absolute mess under him, and I didn't think he really did anything particularly well. But last year, the Blazers started to show some real promise again, and they were one of the best defensive teams in the second half of 2025, like I said before, and he even got an extension because of how much improved the Blazers looked, in the second half of the year. And while I definitely do want to see more from him, if the Blazers can take a serious leap in 2026 and again make the play-in or the playoffs, then I'll really buy into him as a head coach. Now, of course, one massive obstacle the Blazers will face is just how tough the Western Conference is, as it is a much stronger conference compared to the East. The Thunder are obviously the reigning NBA champions, the Nuggets and the Rockets are both title threats, the Wolves are really good, so are the Clippers, the Warriors are quite solid, the Lakers and Grizzlies aren't too bad, and you got the Spurs and Mavericks, and both of those teams are wild cards, but they definitely have potential and could be pretty good. And there are going to be other teams that will make a run at the play-in tournament, but I really do believe that Portland will make the play-in at the bare minimum this upcoming year, and maybe even the playoffs. They should be one of the best defensive teams in the league. Like I said before, I expect Donovan Clingan and Shaden Sharp to both take big leaps, and maybe Scoot Henderson as well, and I think all of that should be enough for them to get the 10 seed. Because I would take them over the Phoenix Suns, the Sacramento Kings, and the New Orleans Pelicans, also the Utah Jazz, obviously, and I think you can argue for them to be over the Spurs or the Mavs. The Mavs could be really good, but they are a really big wild card, and they definitely have their concerns. For one, their backcourt, it is pretty suspect, especially given the fact that Kyrie Irving is going to be out until February. We know how injury-prone Anthony Davis can be, and Cooper Flagg, look, he is a he was a near generational prospect, and he had a lot of hype heading into the league, for a reason. And while I do expect him to have a really good rookie season, there's only so much he can do as a rookie. And then meanwhile, when you look at the Spurs, they should be a pretty decent team if they are healthy, but health is kind of a big factor here, and I do have my doubts about Mitch Johnson as a head coach. Again, it won't be easy making the play-in or the playoffs for that matter, because of how stacked the West is. But again, I think the Blazers will be that next NBA team to take a big leap. Kind of like the Rockets did last year or the Magic in 2024. Now, do I think they'll be a top 3 or 5 seed? Probably not. But again, I think they'll be like in that 8 to 10 range, something like that. And again, they'll make the play-in tournament and maybe even the playoffs in this upcoming season. So yeah, do not sleep on the Blazers in this upcoming year because they will be pretty good. But that's all I have to say for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. It really does mean a lot to me. Again, make sure you guys do like and subscribe, and feel free to check me out on social media. The links to my Twitter and Instagram are in the description below. But without further ado, I'm out, you guys.